we do have what I think is the legacy of Donald Trump. And that is, he says, forget it. We are changing the monetary system as America knows it forever and evermore. We are doing away with those copper darlings.
President Trump says he directed the Treasury to stop minting new pennies, calling the coin wasteful, as he focuses on cutting costs, targeting entire agencies and the federal workforce. Trump posting, let's rip the waste out of our great nation's budget, even if it's a penny at a time.
Okay. First of all, let me get this out of the way because it bugs the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
And that is, every president says they want to make government run more efficiently. And it looks like Trump is at least outwardly doing that as much or better than anybody else by creating more bureaucracy to eliminate bureaucracy, right? Let's create another department of government efficiency in order to get rid of other departments. And then says, we're going to cut waste.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to need all the Secret Service and the plane gassed up so I can fly to my golf course for the weekend. And we heard this from Biden. And we were going to cut government waste.
He didn't seem to cut a whole lot.
He did not cut a whole lot. And then he's like, I'm off to Delaware, right? So every president says this, and then every president spends millions and millions of dollars on their personal vacations. Obama to Hawaii, right? Happens all the time. So I would love to see a president that says, we're going to cut government waste, and maybe I'll stay home for the weekend. Would love to see that.
Some personal accountability and responsibility?
Yeah.
I wouldn't count on that. But
No.
To your point, Trump has created a department to cut back and eliminate lots of other departments, it seems.
That does appear to be the case. And his approval rating is as high as it's ever been, including his first term.
Mm-hmm.
So people are liking some of the stuff that he's doing. You can get into the minutia of all the policy stuff, the immigration, all that kind of stuff. But I did want to talk about the pennies. As Trump says he wants to stop producing pennies, why doesn't he just use an executive order and say, we're going to eliminate pennies altogether? Instead of just saying, stop minting pennies, why not just say, no more pennies? I think the answer is because he can't. That's a Congress thing. Now, that doesn't mean he couldn't try. But we do know that he has every authority to tell the Treasury Department, stop minting them. He might not be able to unilaterally take them out of circulation, but he can say, stop making more. Stop wasting money printing pennies. And it is a waste. Right now, the latest stats show that it costs over 3 cents to print 1 cent. That doesn't seem like a very good return on investment.
No, it's awful. It's almost 4 cents to make a cent. Only in the United States would we defend that for so long.
I think that's a bit of a false argument, though.
What is a false argument?
Well, think about this.
It does cost.
Think about this. Mm-hmm. If it only costs 1 cent to print 1 cent, right, does that mean it costs zero?
To do what?
To print a penny? If it only costs 1 penny to print a penny, does it cost zero?
Oh, is it just cost neutral?
Yeah.
But it
still costs a penny.
It's not.
Right.
I mean, it's
so the when we say it costs 4 cents to print 1 cent, it is not. That is too high. There's inequity there, but it still costs money to print money. Even though the end result is I get a penny, you're not manufacturing something out of nothing. Okay, so if it costs less than a penny to print a penny, you're not suddenly making money. Although you could make that argument that if you print more dollars, that you are changing the value of the dollar, and you could manipulate your debt that way.
Well,
but
also,
anyway,
pennies stick around for a long time too. So
very long. What'd you find in your desk? You found some from the early 70s in your desk drawer today, right?
And that was you and I were going back and forth in rehearsal. And I told you, I've got a whole drawer full of them. And you said, I bet you can't find one older than 1975. First one, I think what we said was from the 90s.
Yeah.
Second one was from 75. Third one was from 72.
Right.
So, and that was, I've got at least 40 or 50 in there. So it didn't take real long.
So you're the reason that they've been taken out of circulation.
I think Pablo actually is part of the reason, too. We just stick them in the drawer there and hold on to them.
By the way, anything printed before 82 is still made out of copper. Stuff that's out now is zinc. So the stuff from 82, if you were to melt it down, would be worth about 2 cents. per penny.
We're rich, Pablo.
I'm actually going to go look at my dates and all my pennies
you're
today. So what
rolling
year
in
was
it.
it? 80?
82.
So anything before 82, I keep.
Yeah.
Okay.
Keep. Yeah. Well, no, throw it in the kiln.
Yeah.
Or the smelter, I guess it would be, right?
I mean, the ones you really want to keep, was it 59 when they changed the design, too? They used to have 1 cent printed on the back. Now they do again now, too.
Yes.
And 09, there were 4 designs. I was looking at this today. And then in 2010, they went to the modern design that we have now.
We got a little screw with all that stuff for a while there.
Yeah. But in
all the quarters got all goofy. Mm-hmm. Don't do that.
And then there was like 1909.
Yeah,
I think there was another design.
I don't get too much into the coin collecting. My dad used to get into that a little bit. I did do this quick inflation check. Mm-hmm. So the penny's been around since we were a country. So I just rounded that to 1800 just for the sake of just checking instead of going 1791 or whatever we had the treasury come through. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, a penny, 1 cent in the year 1800 today would be worth 25 cents.
Okay. I was going to guess like $1 or something. No. Okay, 25 cents. Okay.
Be worth a quarter.
Okay.
So when everything was put together to start with, we had a quarter. We did have a lower denomination. We had a half cent that would be worth 12 and a half cents today. In other words, when our entire monetary system was developed, when it was envisioned to begin with, we didn't have denominations with such little value as what we have right now.
Did we have nickels, dimes, and quarters as well?
Yeah.
In 1800?
Yeah, which would all be worth
substantially more.
25 times what it is now.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we waste our time with anything? Right now, in fact, when everything started, a penny was worth, a half cent was worth more than what a dime is worth today. Mm-hmm. And yet, we still hang on to all this stuff. I think Trump is onto something, and I think once this starts to filter through and we start seeing people going, I don't need these anymore, I think things start to change. I think we are long overdue. In fact, that's our why. Why is it long past due for the penny to be retired? I just gave you a few reasons there, but maybe, Joe, you can expand on why we haven't done it so far, because I think that's probably why it hasn't, is because of all the reasons that we say we can't. So that's next. Chris and Joe Show, KTAR News.
I'd like to come up with some clever money analogy, but...
Her news is always on the money.
Oh, I like that.
Oh, that's not bad.
Becky Lynn, penny for your thoughts.
There you go.
Very good. Oh, but you know what?
How about your 2 cents worth?
It might have to be you may have to go up to a dime or a nickel, something like
all right.
that. Okay.
Why I turn to my left, and Chris Merrill has all the perfect little sayings right there.
Our why today, why is it long past due for the penny to be retired? President Trump signing an executive order that tells the Treasury Department, quit printing those stupid things. Nobody needs those. In fact, I was surprised you were talking about this during rehearsal. You said, even when you go to one of those penny pressing machines, you don't even press a penny anymore.
Yeah, I learned that reading through a story that used to be, hey, you throw in your 2 quarters or your 4 quarters and a penny, and now you have to Apple Pay, Venmo, Zelle the thing, and it throws in some sort of copper or zinc disc.
Like a slug that they throw in there.
A slug.
Yeah, Pablo like that.
I learned all about slugs from newspaper machines. They were big where I grew up. You'd see them sitting around all the time.
The slugs?
Yeah.
So you could steal the newspaper out of the machine.
Right.
Yeah, okay. So in that case, though, it's just it's a blank. It's a slug, and then they just press that, which is actually real copper, I think, probably out of those machines. The pressing machines are like you have it. Where did you see them? Tombstone, you were telling me?
Yeah, every time I go to Tombstone, I always press me a penny.
Who else has got the penny presses around here?
Oh, all kinds of museums.
There's probably some of the Grand Canyon, right?
Yeah, I
Sure.
think there's one at the, there's a firefighter museum called Hall of Flame here. They have one as well.
Oh, that's cool. All right.
Yeah, any kind of local museum, anything
Okay.
like that,
All
will
right.
have them in there.
Yeah. So why do we hang on to these things? Because I honestly haven't used a penny to pay for something in I don't know how long. In fact, I will occasionally pull it out if I'm actually using cash, which I don't do very often, but if I'm actually using cash and then I try to get the exact change, like for the drive-through or the gas station or something, and I go, hi, how about that? I actually have the right number, right?
Well, reason number one, we hit on cost. that it just doesn't make sense if each penny is costing roughly 3.7 cents.
Yeah.
It's just not fiscally responsible.
No, I mean, that's the obvious one, right?
That is. And then I thought about use as well. I know you had that as well. Just like you just said a moment ago. When's the last time you counted out pennies to pay for something? Increasingly, you go to a concert, you go to a sporting event. They don't take cash or change of any kind.
Yeah.
And how much more do we count on Venmo, PayPal, Cash App, Apple Pay? So we're going digital. It's not money of any kind, and the penny is increasingly fading away.
And even if you're a Dave Ramsey adherent, you might be using your debit card, which has oftentimes got the tap to pay. In fact, I was frustrated because I just got my new HSA card in the mail. It does not have the chip on it. And I'm like, what is this? What kind of 1998 technology are we dealing with here? I have to swipe this now? Ugh, curses.
Do you have a few others? I had one more I want to hit on.
So, yeah, I sort of took rather than reasons to get rid of it, I sort of shot holes in all the reasons not to.
Okay.
Right? And part of that has to do with the usefulness of the penny. And one of the arguments for keeping the 1 cent coin is that, well, people might round up. And I think...
Yeah, inflation.
So? I mean, think about how many transactions...
it's already so bad.
But how many transactions are already rounded right now? And they've been rounded for more than 150 years. Remember, I told you in the last segment, we used to have a half-cent coin. Of course, you and I have never seen one of those because they took them out of circulation after the Civil War. But we've been rounding up since then. And how many times do you go to the store and you pay, and even if you are paying with cash, maybe you've got coins, you don't have the right number of pennies, and then they're giving you pennies back. What do you do with them? They go in your drawer, and then they're out of circulation. Well, we are printing pennies right now just to have pennies to give us change because once people get pennies, they don't use them.
What also stops stores from already doing the rounding?
Nothing. In fact, what stops companies from doing the rounding?
Didn't they make a whole movie Office Space out of the rounding?
You're close. Because in Office Space, they brought this up, and then they revealed the joke, which actually I knew ahead of time. In 1983, the premise of Superman 3 was that Richard Pryor was stealing money by taking the rounding error and then having that all deposited into his bank account. And then suddenly it exploded faster than he thought it would. Office Space takes the same thing, and one of the guys in Office Space says, wasn't that the plot from Superman 3? And the guy goes, yeah, exactly, but it works. Exactly. Now, Superman, 1983. Office Space, I believe, was 99. We're more than a quarter century later, and the joke still is going on. Like, they were laughing at the time about how futile the penny was, and here we are, almost 50 years after Superman, but certainly a quarter century after that last joke was made, and we're still doing it. So this whole argument about rounding, it boils down to this, and that is that the only reason to keep pennies around is to avoid rounding nominal amounts. But by the way, speaking of nominal amounts, we pretend like the decimal stops after 2 spots. We pretend, we accept there's nothing after that. And yet, every time you drive by a gas station, how much is the gas, a gallon of gas?
It's the dollar figure, whatever it is, and then it's always 0.9.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we just conveniently forget about that.
We round. Mm-hmm. But you know, what's funny is we always say gas is $3.59. No, it's not. It's 359.9, so it's 360. But we don't do it that way. That's not how our brains work. But we are willing to accept rounding at nominal values. But for some reason, we've all decided that a tenth of a penny is nominal, but a penny itself is not nominal.
So hasn't it stuck around for the math of it all, too? That it was simple to have these denominations of, 25, 10, 5, and 1.
Yeah.
But increasingly...
What if you got... I'm going to blow your mind.
No. Oh, I'm ready.
What if you just moved the decimal point? So instead of your 1 is a penny, what if the dime is your 1? Either that or you just reset everything and you make a penny worth a dime now, and then everything comes down by 10 times.
Yeah. Mind blown.
Yeah, which will never happen.
Another reason, too, a bunch of other countries have already gotten rid of the penny. Belgium, Brazil, Canada.
51st state.
Chile, Finland, Hungary, New Zealand, Australia. all have done this before the U.S. did it.
Don't you think that's one of the reasons that the United States resists it, though?
Because other countries have kept it around?
No, because they
Or
haven't.
have gotten rid of it?
Yeah, and the same way, don't California my Arizona. Well, what if California does something good? Well, you can't do that here.
I just think people are so change resistant and they cling to their memories.
Pun intended?
No. No, but I see what you did there. No, just increasingly it's people in their 70s and 80s who don't want to see the penny go away, who remember dropping a penny in a gumball machine and getting that gumball. Well, now find me a gumball machine where you can get a gumball for a penny. Unless it's in a museum, it's never going to happen.
No.
It's probably at least a quarter.
Yeah.
Maybe 50 cents, maybe $1.
Yeah.
But it's just the U.S. is so slow to evolve. And with something like this, I appreciate the president's speed that he's trying to get this done.
Yeah.
Because
ironically, the oldest president that we've had, oldest elected president at election
is
time,
moving the quickest to dispose of something that could save the U.S. I mean, a relatively small sum, $110 million a year.
Yeah. Which really isn't a whole lot in the grand scheme of a $4 trillion budget, but every little
Something
bit
is
helps.
more than nothing.
You know, speaking of relics, this whole penny thing, hanging on to any relics feels like an exercise in futility, like cursive. I know a lot of people will go to the mat with me about cursive, but honestly, what's the point? I would actually say, and I'm an advocate for don't teach cursive anymore. Nobody cares. Except that cursive actually has more value than a penny. Think about this. Cursive is kind of like dead languages, all right? And dead languages, we don't use them anymore. In some cases, we teach them. Latin, for instance, we don't use it, but we still teach it because it's the foundation of Romance languages. You've got the dead indigenous languages, but those have cultural relevance, right? They have a far greater meaning than anybody's love of the penny. What is your love of the penny? It's for a time that no longer exists. At least with cultural relevance, cursive, I'm going to throw in that same category. Some people still use cursive, but largely it's not. Things are typed now, and things that aren't typed are printed. Cursive is unnecessary.
I wish I could drop so much more on you right now than e pluribus unum. I could just
That's
do
all
the
you
rest
got,
of the
right?
show in Latin.
Yeah. You wish.
I do wish.
And you went to Catholic school. You thought if anybody's going to teach Latin, it would be the Catholics. Nope. Nothing. I don't even know what they taught you in those
Just a
schools.
failure.
But I think that in many cases we hang on to it for sentimental reasons, not for anything else. But it really is just an exercise in futility. What's the point? There is none. There's no point.
Thanks for watching The Chris and Joe Show. Click to see more from Chris and Joe and tap the button in the middle to subscribe to KTAR News.